What's up, Tamers? Gino here, and I got another deck talk for you. I'm not very good at these unscripted videos, and I'm sorry for that, but I just wanted to talk about my experience. Me, Dan, and Varney all went up to Rogue State Gaming, I believe, to participate in questionable plays, win a case tournament, and we all did pretty good. You'll probably see a video from Dan on his deck choice, and we'll actually get into Dan's deck choice later because spoilers, we had to play against each other. But it was a really good time, so shout out to Rogue State Gaming and Questionable Plays and everybody that came together for that event. There was 47 participants. I ended up going 4-1 in Swiss, and then unfortunately dropping the ball in the top cut. I got eliminated round 1 of top cut, so technically I got 8th right out of 47 people, which is pretty good. And I played some great players. Shout out to the boys from Connecticut and everybody else who came down. But it was a really fun time. Some of the most fun I've had playing Digimon so far. Really fun time. And the deck I brought was Crossheart, and I learned a lot about not only Crossheart but also about how it has some really interesting and good matchups into this meta. And so we're going to talk about the decks I played. We're going to talk about Crossheart as a deck. And then finally, of course, we'll get into the deck profile. I'm also going to shout out Huang Zero. I'm sure you guys all know who that is at this point. But my list is partially inspired by him. It's pretty close to his list on his channel. But let's talk about my experiences playing this in an actual event, right? So round 1, I played, and round 2, actually, I played against Talon Loop. So Talon Ruin Mode Loop, right? So they slam Talon Ace, then they play an option, Evo for free, into Kazuhamon, play another option for free, spit out Talon, play another option for free, Evo for free, and they keep doing that until they basically run out of options in their hands. And they have a super wide board with a ruin mode or 2 on board, right? So your board's nagged 5 or 10, sometimes 15 if they go really crazy. Luckily I never got neg 15. Wait, that's a lie. I did actually get neg 15 once, but it was my own doing. Because I popped the ruin mode after I was already under a neg 10. But that's fine, whatever, doesn't matter. They were both red-based Talon loops. So they were running the Gallantmon draw engine, Gigimon draw engine, which is funny because like in this meta, when you flip Gigimon, it's like, okay, is this going to be Gallantmon or Talon, right? So that's kind of funny. But I had never play tested this matchup. I really didn't know how it was going to go. I thought it was just going to get bodied, and I was completely wrong because of Chaosmon Valderarm. So spoiler alert, I'm playing 2 Chaosmon Valderarm as my super duper top end, and it just invalidates Talon Loop for a turn, at least, which is sometimes all you need with this deck because of how aggressive you are. By the time they're doing all their stuff, you can shut it off before they can do it, sometimes. So round 1, basically, he could not find his pieces, he couldn't set up, and I was able to just go faster and get into Chaosmon Valderarm. I got a 2-0 victory over the first Tal Loop. The second Tal Loop, shout out to Cliff. His game 1, he cooked me, dude. He had everything, like turn 1 or turn 2, and I was staring at a 6-wide board with a ruin mode, and there was just nothing I could do. I was cooked. The next 2 games, I found Chaosmon Valderarm, so I won those games. That's basically what it comes down to. Can I get into Chaosmon Valderarm and shut you down for a turn while I do my normal Crossheart chip damage? If so, I win. If not, you win, right? So because they really do not have anything to do if you turn off their on plays for a turn. There's just nothing they can do because they're not evoing up the chain because they're running red base. So they're relying completely on, I'm going to hard play Talon and then use Talmon's on play. So if they don't have a Talon on play, they can't do anything, right? So a lot of the times it would be like, okay, I guess I pass because I can't do anything. And then Valderarm's going to do 2 checks, and I can do some other sneaky things to close out the game next turn because I've probably already done a chip damage or 2 with my rookies because that's just the nature of Crossheart, right? Crossheart plays a lot differently these days, which is really fun. Let's say I love the fact that all Crossheart Digimon have black box now. So you can literally Evo up the chain, except for EX6, which yes, I am running EX6 as my primary Mega. So I can't Evo into a 6, but I can Evo all the way up into a 5. And some of the 5s, especially Jaeger Darulumon, have really strong Evo effects. I'll talk about the cards and specifically what they do in a little bit. The main pain point of Crossheart is play cost reduction floodgates, which we have some ways around now, because Shoutmon can on-play Evo into an Omni Shout from under one of your Tamers for free. So that's a 4 cost that's going to pop one of your guys. And I also play 2 copies of the Starmon, which we'll see. And he has the inherited effect of if this Digimon has Crossheart when attacking -2k. So that's another way to deal with floodgates. That's why I opted to keep Starmons in, even though I know some lists do not. That's neither here nor there. Starmon has a number of ways to deal with floodgates, actually. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But okay, so Talon loops, we're 2-0 at this point in the tournament. Next deck I played, let me just double check. Yeah, next deck was Royal Knights, and I was terrified of this matchup because, again, it was another matchup I hadn't played with the new cards, and I just expected that I was going to get blown the fuck up. He was going to Omekamon me into Omni X and ruin my whole day, right? Turns out Shoutmon EX6 gives a blanket DP neg similar to Ruin Mode, but only lasts on my turn. So that means if I played Shoutmon EX6 during my turn and got him down to 1 security, if he chooses to play Omekamon, it dies instantly because it's under the DP neg, as long as I had enough sources, which, let's be honest, I'm not playing Shoutmon EX6 if I can't play it for at least 3 or 5 if I really have to, right? But most of the time I'm playing it for 1 if I have all my sources. So 1 or 3 is usually what you're playing it for by the time you really want to go into it. So the combination of EX6 shutting down the Omekamon crackback and Chaosmon Valderarms shutting down on plays, Royal Knights is actually a really easy matchup for Crossheart. I say easy because it is still Royal Knights and it can still do Royal Knight things, but you can really just go faster and turn off Omekamon, which means they don't have their crackback potential, so they have to win the normal way. So that was another thing I learned. So 2 things I learned so far this tournament. Valderarm is really good, and EX6 just wins the Royal Knights matchup. So that's pretty cool. I was really happy at this point in the tournament. I'm 3-0, and then sure enough, here comes Dan. Dan with his Giga Sedramon build. And unfortunately, these were the worst games that I had. Game 1, I cooked him up. Real quick, before I keep going into me and Dan's matchup, I do just want to say that the previous night, I had played in TBL, our knockout battle, every Wednesday and Friday at 7 p.m. as long as we have enough signups, right? You can join too. If you join the Discord, $10 to sign up. There's prizing. There's early registration raffle. We have lots of incentives for you to join TBL. Point is, I took Crossheart to TBL to see how it would do, and I cannot remember my matchups for the life of me. It feels like so long ago at this point, especially considering that I played all day Saturday, right? In this big case tournament. But I ended up getting second, I believe, with Crossheart there, and I was really happy with how it went. So I was like, you know what? We're going to try it out. I did not play Tau Loop or Ruin Mode Loop in TBL. So like I said, these were mostly new experiences for me. Didn't have a lot of time to test. I had tested it on the sim, but some of these decks are not complete or ready on the sim, right? A lot of the new ones aren't there yet. So yeah, that's my experience. So I did well in TBL, so I'm going to take it to a big tournament. That's kind of how I roll, right? Can I win a locals or a TBL with this deck? If so, I'm going to trust it into a big tournament. So that's what we did. All right, so me and Dan's match, like I said, game 1, I cooked him up. I got the pop-offs. I got everything I needed pretty quickly, and I can remove his stacks. I actually had to use the Jaeger Darulu when Digivolving effect to shut down one of his stacks so he could not ace me, which was pretty cool. But that game went pretty smoothly. games 2 and 3, I just bricked up really hard. I really hate using I bricked as an excuse, but dude, I was drawing the same one source for my EX6, so I could never get him out for anything less than like 5, and you just don't want to do that. There's almost never a time when it's good to, there's almost never a time where it's good to play EX6 and not keep turn. If you can't keep turn, you're losing so much tempo by playing EX6, and you're just hoping that, well, I have a blocker, you know, it's not good, especially when he has Metal Sedramon Ace, which can de-digivolve EX6, and then the Omni Shout that's underneath, which you really need to have because you need Rush, is a 7 cost, so it gets bottom decked by Mega Sedramon Ace. So it's really interesting. The matchup is very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's very volatile. If he pushes out early and I'm able to EX6, I can just remove his whole stack, no problem. Even if it's Giga Sedramon, it's easily removed with EX6's effects. I can usually remove before he can ace me. But if I can't, or if I leave EX6 on the board and he can crack back, then it really sets me back because I lose. I don't get to say, I don't get my material save 4, which is really valuable. So games 2 and 3, I bricked up pretty hard. I had to do some really not so great plays. It's nice that I can Evo in the back now if I just need to draw cards and do stuff that way, which is cool. But you know, it is what it is. Then round 5, this was the round to determine whether I made it into top cut or not. If I lost this match, I don't think I would make it into top cut because I would have been X and 2. And it was against Gallantmon. Shout out to the boy Lance running Gallantmon. These were some of the most fun matches I've ever had playing Digimon, because every game, we went to game 3, of course, every game was down to the wire. I didn't pop off and blow him out of the water, and he didn't pop out and blow me out of the water. It was a constant back and forth of us doing the ridiculous stuff that our techs do. And game 3 was insane. I had 1 security left, and he had a regular BT-17 Gallantmon on board. I had the EX6 Shoutmon, who was 14, and his Gallantmon was 14 as well, swinging in. He was trying to bait me to block it so that he could play Gallantmon Rush for game. Because then you could Gallantmon Rush, Tuck X Antibody, swing, Evo into Gallant X, burn that last security game. Or he also had the ability to go into Omni X, which he had, so he could rush without suspending for game as well. The problem is earlier on his climb, my board had consisted of during his turn of a shooting Starmons, a regular Starmons, and my Shoutmon EX6, which was a 14k blocker at this time. And during his climb, he had to pop Starmons, which saved me. Because Starmons says on deletion, play a shooting Starmons from under your tamer. And shooting Starmon says, all turns when one of your cross-heart traded Digimon are played, give something -3k and sec -1. So I was able to neg 3k and sec -2 his Gallantmon stack. And so even though he could do the last bit of damage for me, the last security of damage, because he'd become immune once the turn passed over, or once the memory passed to 0 or less for him, he could not Omni X rush for game, because it would then be at sec -2. And even though he had the sec +1 inherit from Wargrowl X, he just could not finish me off. And I was able to finish the game next turn with my EX6. Because I chose not to block because I didn't want him to have, because we would have crashed. He would have been 14 swinging in, and I did not want to die. I did not want him to die so that he could rush out a Gallantmon, or he also had some memory boosts on the board, so he probably could have played a Guilmon and rushed for game as well. That was an option he had. So really lucky that it worked out that way in my favor, and it was really good back and forth games. Had a lot of fun playing that Gallantmon matchup. So I took that one. So I was 4-1, made it into top cut. At the end of Swiss, I was 3rd place. Dan was 2nd, by the way. So go Dan. Shout outs to Dan, right? Okay. Then in top cut, I got blown the fuck up by Purple Hybrid. Purple Hybrid did Purple Hybrid things. He got double Uko. I think he had 3 Ukos game 1 and the Louis. So he literally just rushed me down before I could even get enough pieces to cross into an EX6 quickly. And the second game, not only did I not really find the pieces that I needed quick enough, I kind of bricked up, He also Argomoned all of my tamers, and I really needed my Nene alive so that I could grab a piece from the trash that I was missing, because he had been doing plenty of chip damage to me during this time, right? So all in all, a really fun experience. I had a lot of fun playing Digimon. I won myself a box, so not all was lost, and so my pulls were okay. But whatever, that's not the point. The point is I had fun. I played sort of a roguish off meta. I think it's a really good deck into the meta, but just something people weren't expecting. A lot of people didn't know what a lot of my cards did, which means I had to do a lot of explaining, but that also means I had the matchup knowledge advantage because they didn't really know what was about to happen to them. And yeah, EX6 is a crazy good card, and so is Meteorock Soul. And we'll talk about all those cards right now. Let's switch over to the deck profile view. Alrighty, so Crossheart. What do we do with this new Crossheart deck? Well, for the eggs, we are off of the old draw 1 Pikmons, and we're now on 4 of this new red Pikmon. This one says, when attacking by placing a Digimon card with Crossheart or Blue Flare trait from your hand under any of your tamers, draw a card. This is really strong. This helps you set up a lot of your plays. If you sequence your things correctly, you can do some very silly things with some of the cards. And it also is just a draw 1, which is good. So a lot of the time, your turn 1 play is Rookie and Tamer. And then when you push out, you're going to get another draw plus whatever other silly effects you can get to go off. For our first rookie, we are running 4 copies of the new BT19 Shoutmon. On play, this Digimon may digivolve into an Omni Shoutmon under your tamer without paying the cost, which is really cool. A lot of these new cross Digimons basically say, hey, evo for free if it's under your tamer, which is really cool, really fun. It takes people by surprise. Like, that's free? I'm like, yep, it's free. On deletion, this is really valuable early game, especially if you don't have a lot of tamers in your hand, because you know they're coming up in your deck. On deletion, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck and play a Crossheart traded tamer among them without paying the cost, and then save. So it's really good. Like turn 0, you evo this in the back, you play a tamer, you push out, you swing, you tuck a card to gain a draw. You die because you're 1k, like unless you hit an option or a tamer in security, you're probably dying. Then you flip 3 and you get a tamer. If it's Taiki, that means you get a search off of it too. It's really strong, really valuable card. No way you run him as anything less than 4. Our next rookie, we're running 4 copies of Sparrowmon. This is interestingly enough, kind of your consistency rookie. He evos for free on a Crossheart, so unlike this Shoutmon and the Starmons that we're going to see soon, who can evo for 1 on a red, so you can sometimes go for the turn 0 if you don't have a tamer or a boost, and you really just want to, you can just evo for 1 and go for the 1 cost choke, similar to like an Ukomon play. Sparrowmon can't do that. Sparrowmon is black box that has to evo for 0. So you can't do the 0 memory choke, or the 1 memory choke, but a lot of the time you don't want to do that anyway. So Sparrowmon says, when attacking, this Digimon may digivolve into a Raptor Sparrowmon from under your tamers without paying the cost, and on deletion save. He also has the inherited effect of collision, as long as you have Crossheart. And by the way, Shoutmon has Rush as his inheritable, which is very important. So the play with Sparrowmon is, you're going to swing, you're going to use Pikmon's effect to tuck Raptor Sparrow under your tamer, get your draw, and then activate Sparrowmons when attacking to evo into the Raptor Sparrow you just tucked. And Raptor Sparrow is really good. We're going to talk about her in just a minute. But first, we're running 2 copies, and I really like this card. Call me crazy, but I really like this card. 2 copies of Starmons. Starmons has Decoy from a Crossheart traded Digimon, which does come up from time to time. Not often, but sometimes. It's also 2 more rookies, because this is all of our rookies, so we're running 10 rookies. So BT19 Starmons. On deletion, you may play a shooting Starmon from under your tamer without paying the cost, then place 1 Starmons and Pikmons from your trash as that Digimon's bottom Digivolution cards. So I like it partially because it's funny. It's just really funny to spit out shooting Starmons and then tuck this in the egg. It's like, I don't know. I hear that in my head every time. I hear like the star falling sound from like Paper Mario or some shit. But And then it has the when attacking effect of if this Digimon has Crossheart trait, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 2k DP for the turn. So this is one of many ways you can deal with floodgates. Spoiler alert, I never needed to deal with a floodgate over this entire event. No one really played them. So I didn't have to worry about not being able to cross for reduced cost. But this Starmon does come up a lot. Like I said, I hard slammed him against the Gallant matchup because I knew he'd have to pop it, and then I'd have his form of defense with shooting Starmons. So it gives you a lot of defense. It's a good card. Let's move on to the next card. This is going to be, so we're running 2 level 4 Digimon. We're running 3 copies of BT19 shooting Starmon. I always get confused. I think he's shooting Starmons because this is Pikmons and this is Starmons, but this is shooting Starmon singular. Whatever, doesn't matter. But all turns, once per turn, when any of your Crossheart Digimon are played until the end of your opponent's turn, give one of their Digimon sec -1 and minus 3000 DP. He sees himself on this effect, which is nice. And then on deletion, and you're going to see this for basically the rest of the deck. It's what I like to call super save. It says on deletion, you may place one Digimon card with the Crossheart or Blue Flare trait from your hand or trash under one of your tamers. So if they hit something in security that you really need, you can grab it back. And there are situations where I have deliberately killed one of my bodies because I really needed something out of trash. So I would I'll just swing this guy into something that's suspended that I know is going to kill me. And then I can get the piece that I really need back from trash. And then it has the same when attacking. We're rarely going to use this inherit effect, but it is there. It's the same as the Starmons. If it has Crossheart when attacking, neg 2k on something. It's very rare we're evoing up with Shooting Starmon. Shooting Starmon is one of our combo pieces that we use with EX6. And I'll talk all about how very strong that effect is very soon. Next, we're running 3 copies of, remember I said Sparrowmon was our consistency piece? Kind of what Raptor Sparrowmon is doing for us. Raptor Sparrowmon has both the on-play and when digivolving effect of reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, then add 1 card with the Crossheart or Blue for a trait among them to your hand and trash the rest. Really good effect. We do run a copy of Nene, which you'll see later, so even if you trash some cards that you need, Nene can get them, or you can use the super save to grab whatever you need back from trash in case you search 2 pieces that you really needed, right? So you added 1 to hand and you trash the other. And then when this dies, which is very likely because when you evo this off of the Sparrowmon when attacking effect, it has collision. So that's yet another way to deal with floodgates. If that's all they have on the board, you just evo into this for free and you're swinging collision. It also, just removes bodies or suspends them down if you would like them to be suspended. We do have piercing in this deck, as Crossheart tends to. So it's just ways to get things suspended down. It's ways to get the on deletion effect, which is really valuable to grab cards back, and it removes things, or you can just swing into security if they have nothing, right? You never really care if anything's dying as long as you have a tamer on the board because you're going to get a save or a super save. That's it for force. Shout out to Huang. I was running this at 3 and then I was like, man, you're right. This is like probably the most important piece. I'll bump it to 4. This is 4 copies of Omni Shoutmon, the new BT19 Omni Shout. He's also treated as Shoutmon for Digicross. Spoiler, we're not running anything else that Digicrosses except for EX6. So none of the effects that all these Digimon that are the evolved forms count as their base forms. So like Omni Shout counts as Shoutmon, Raptor Sparrow counts as Sparrowmon, but we never use it for that effect. So it's kind of a moot point. On play, when Digivolve, one of your opponent's Digimon gets negative 3000 DP for the turn, then delete something with 3000 DP. So this removes a 6k, right? On deletion, it has super save. And inherit effect, if this Digimon is Crossheart, it gains rush. Really good card. If you have 4 memory, you Shoutmon for game if this is under your tamer, because Shoutmon evos into it for free, has rush, swing game. You can also do it for 3 with the option card. We'll talk about that in a bit. Really strong, really important, probably the most important piece for your EX6 because you really want to be able to rush. So we run it at 4. This is my favorite Digimon to evo in the whole deck. He's also just one of my favorite Digimon. I love his design. He's so cool. Jaeger Darulumon. 3 copies of Jaeger Darulumon. He evos Black Box for 3, right? And then he goes, on play when Digivolving, suspend an opponent's Digimon. Then until the end of their turn, one of their Digimon can't activate when Digivolving effects or unsuspend. So just locks down something and prevents them from blasting. There are situations when that is important, especially if you have a bunch of memory banked up. So you can Evo something into Jaeger-Darulumon and then just use that Jaeger-Darulumon that you had to Evo for the cross. And then it has the inherited trait of the Digimon with the cross heart trait. This Digimon with the cross heart trait gains piercing. So pretty solid. He is probably the least important piece to see in your stack, or one of the least important pieces, but really good card, really strong Evo effect, which you sometimes do. So yeah, good card. I love Jaeger-Darulumon. We're running 3 of this guy as well. This is 3 Atler Ballistamon. I think I used his effect like once. It's not bad for the Wind Digi, but it's just kind of okay because he doesn't have blocker on face. If he had blocker on face, I think this would be a stronger card. But until the end of your opponent's turn, one of your Digimon can't be returned to hand or dex by their opponent's effects and gains plus 3000 DP. So you can use this to... what's really cool is that EX6 plays out the Shooting Starmon so that you can Evo Atler Ballistamon if you have one in your hand on top of the Shooting Star, and now they can't bounce your EX6, which is one of Crossheart's biggest weaknesses, right? Is getting bounced. So if you have extra Atler Ballistamons, you can use it for that effect, which is really nice, really cool, and on deletion, super safe. I didn't mention it, but Jaeger-Darulu has that as well. But what's really important about this card is the inheritable. It gives your EX6 blocker. Simple as that, right? What's interesting, and this is an interesting play, we're moving on to level 6s. We're running 3 copies of Greymon. And I say this is interesting because it has some synergy with Atler Ballistamon, which I'll talk about in just a second. But let's talk about what Grey does. He does on play when Digivolving, Digivolve 2 on one of your opponent's Digimon, sorry. Then if your opponent has 2 or more Digimon, return a level 4 or lower to the hand. So if they have a level 6 stack and they're not running any X-Antibody style Digimon, it just removes it as long as they have 2 bodies on board. On deletion, you may play a Blue Flare or Cross Heart trait Digimon card with a play cost of 5 or less from under your tamers without paying the cost, then save. So you can play out your Shooting Star, your Raptor Sparrow, so you can get Draw or the DP neg and security -1, or you can play the Shoutmon and then Evo for free into Omni Shout, and that's another rush body. Really strong card, really cool card. Like I was saying, it has some synergy with Atler Ballista because you can Digivolve for 3 on top of only Atler Ballista, because this one does not have black box and only Evos on a black or a blue level 3, and he's the only blue card in the whole deck. And Atler Ballistamon is our black card to Evo on top of. So I'm never able to really get this effect off, but it's nice that it's there, right? Sometimes de-Digivolve, you just need to de-Digivolve, and this is the way you do it. Now we're running 4 copies of the boy. This card is your win button. He does your taxes, mows your lawn, everything for you. This is Shoutmon EX6. This card is cracked. Buy him up. He's 20 cents. Really cool card. So he's going to Digicross for 2 with every piece here. So Grey, Atler Ballista, Jaeger-Darulu, Omni Shout, and Raptor Sparrow. So that means if you have all of them, he is a 1 cost drop for a crazy strong effect. So if you have everything, he's going to have Rush, Piercing, Blocker, Collision, and plus 2000 DP. But that's not all. On play, for each color in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, all of your opponent's Digimon get minus 1000 DP for the turn. Okay, that's the first part of this effect. Before I move on to the second part, I'm going to tell you right now, if you have everything, that's a -6 on the board. That's even stronger than Ruin Mode. But it only lasts for your turn. It doesn't linger over to your opponent's turn. That would be crazy. But this effect, very strong. Like I said earlier, it invalidates Omekamon, it removes a lot of bodies, and the second part of this effect is then you may play a Shooting Starmon from under your tamer without paying the cost. So that means you're going to neg at least 1 target. If you had the full cross, you're going to neg 1 target 9k, which is really good already. But wait, there's more. When attacking, not once per turn, by the way, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with as much or less DP as this Digimon. And he has Alliance and Reboot on his face, and Material Save 4. If you don't remember, Material Save 4 says when this Digimon's deleted, you can take 4 of its sources and tuck them under one of your tamers. Holy crap, this card is good. Like, geez Louise, dude. most of the time you're playing him for 1 and then you're alliancing with the shooting Starmon that you just played, which means that he is a 19k double breaker who pops a 19k on attack. So if you didn't, geez Louise, it just does everything if you have everything, like neg 6 on the board, neg 3 on another thing from shooting star, alliance, pop a 19k. Guess what? Meteor Rock Soul means we get to do it again. This card is really good. Do not sleep on the Crossheart deck. It'll do some fun stuff for you. That's it for 6s. We are running 2 copies of level 7. I talked about them briefly. This invalidates a couple matchups for you, and it has some interesting synergy, which we'll talk about in just a second. This is 2 copies of the new BT20 Chaosmon Valder Arm. Security attack +1 and partition, yellow and a green or black level 6. So both level 6s. When digivolving, for each of this Digimon's level 6 Digivolution cards, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers and gain a memory. Then, until the end of their turn, none of their Digimon or Tamers can activate unplay effects or unsuspend. So this locks down a board, it stops them from doing on plays, it's really strong into a number of matchups, and it has partition. But Gino, you're not DNA Digivolving in this deck, are you? No, almost never. You're just hard evoing for 5 on top of Shoutmon EX6, who happens to digicross with another EX with another level 6 under him. So this is a 3-cost evo because you're going to gain 2 back if you had the full Shoutmon thing. So just if you're doing some mental math in your head, it costs 4 memory total to get into Chaosmon Valder Arm. Okay, from nothing. As long as you have all the pieces for your EX6, it's a 4 memory play. Very strong. And then if they remove it in a way that activates partition, you get to play out EX6, which, by the way, you can cross anytime a Digimon is played. It doesn't have to be played from your hand. If he partitions out and you really would like a couple of sources underneath Shoutmon EX6, you can digicross with, following normal digicross requirements and expectations. So you can use something on the field, you can tap a tamer and use that. I do think the only tamer, just double checking. The only tamer you can use to tap if it's your opponent's turn when they pop it is Nene. So keep that in mind. But if it's your turn, you can use your tamers, right? So Valder Arm's going to partition out EX6 and Zigray. And Zigray does on play, Digivolve 2, then return a level 4 to lower to hand. Like, man. And then, by the way, you can DNA into a new one, which is very funny. It hasn't come up a lot of the time. I really like Valder Arm. I do. But man, he is a brick in your hand if you see him early, which I swear happened to me too many times in the tournament. But it is what it is. It's the nature of a card game, nature of variance, right? It happens. But boy, oh boy. This card deals with the matchups that EX6 can't by himself. Real quick, I wanted to say one more thing about the Talmon Loop matchup. Most of the time, they're negging your board 10, which means you can get an EX6 out and he'll still live, which means you can go into Valder Arm and counter their next turn. So just something to think about. There was a situation where I went into the EX6 and I had the Valder Arm and I was able to delete and remove the Shine Gray, and I went under the negative 15k blanket, which is crazy when you think about it. But I had Greymon underneath. So Valder Arm was 17k. I didn't have to worry about partitioning out because then my guys would have died anyway, right? Because they're 12 and 11 by default. He can only get up to 14 on his own. So Valder Arm was able to stick around for a turn, even though I was under the 15k blanket, which is pretty cool. Greymon is the only inherit that says this Digimon doesn't need to have Crossheart in its trait. It's just boom, have fun, here's plus 2000 DP. So that means Valder Arm's not dying in security to anything, basically, right? Anything but an option. And if it dies to an option, you get to partition. Most important part of cross decks, right, are the tamers, probably. So we need to run a lot of them, and we're running all consistency booster tamers, basically. So we're running 4 copies of the old BT10 Taiki Kudo. On play, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, add 1 card with the Cross Heart trait. So that means you can grab a Cross Heart traded option card or a Cross Heart traded tamer. We run both of those. So there are situations when maybe you don't want to grab a Digimon, or maybe you can't. Maybe you whiffed on Valder Arm and some of these other cards that are in the rest of this deck here. But Taiki, you always want to grab the option card. Let me tell you, you almost always want to grab the option card unless you got one or two chilling in your hand already. And then you get to tuck a Cross Heart Digimon under the Taiki for later. And then, of course, as you know, cross tamers, you can suspend them to cross with sources underneath your tamers. Really good consistency piece. You want to see him turn 0. You want to Evo in the back for 0 and then play Taiki for 3. And now you're set up to start doing your shenanigans next turn. Plus, like a top 4 search and grabbing basically 2 pieces is really good. This tamer is also really good. This is 4 copies of the triple tamer from BT11, Taiki Kiri Hanene. Start of your main phase. By placing 1 Digimon card with Cross Heart or Blue Flare in its traits from your hand under this tamer, gain a memory and draw a card. And then it also has the suspend to cross effect, right? Just like Taiki. This just gives you lots of cycle. It's another way to get stuff underneath your tamers because you really want to see Shooting Starmon under your tamer, and you really want to get a Raptor Sparrow to use with Sparrowmon under your tamer, and the Omni Shout for the Shoutmon on place. So these are the main cards you really need to tuck under Taiki Kiri Hanene. And some of these other ones, like, sure, it's rare that you Evo into Zieg Gray, so you can get rid of it. If you really have to, you're bricked up and you have a bunch of EX6 in your hand, you can tuck that to do it. I did have to do that once and I lost that game because if you have to tuck EX6, you're probably in a pretty bad spot. But whatever, doesn't matter. Point is, this card is consistency. Sorry for the glare. Really good card, 4 and 4. And then I mentioned it before, we're running just 1 copy of Nene Amino. She's a memory setter, which is nice. It's nice to start with 3 memory. Not super important, which is why she's only at 1. She is also a black source, which is important for our next option card, which you probably know what it is if you watched Huang's video. And she also lets you Evo from or cross from the trash. So you can take 1 card from the trash and the rest from under your tamers. Which is really valuable so that you don't use up all your resources. You can grab some resources back from the trash if you weren't able to use your super save effect with your other guys, right? She's really good. She's nice to have. Maybe I'd bump her to 2 because this card's really good, but it's sometimes a brick in the hand. And that's Sepia Memory Boost. So Sepia Memory Boost, yellow or black meets the color requirements. If you take a quick gander at my Digimon, you'll notice that every single Digimon is yellow or black. And that's why that we use that searcher. It's just, grab any piece. Obviously it whiffs your tamers, which sucks. But the big problem with this card is that you can't hatch and use it because Pikmon's is red. So if you didn't open a rookie, you're not going to be able to use it. And you need to have a Digimon. So turn 0, it's good if you didn't open the tamer because you can Evo your rookie and then slam Sepia. It's nice to have the memory refund later so that you can cross and keep turn if you didn't have all your pieces, if you didn't find all your pieces. But the nature of Cross Heart is that you're often pushing as soon as you can and swinging that rookie as soon as you can. So you need to be cognizant of what your next play is. So if I have Taiki on the board, right? I have the good setup. I have Taiki, I have Shoutmon. The rest of my hand is basically 4s and up and a Sepia boost. If I choose to swing with one of my rookies and it's going to die, which it probably will, I now can't use Sepia boost unless I found Nene, which is rare. So, because she's a 1-of, right? So Sepia can sometimes be a brick in the hand, or alternatively, you need to wait a turn before pushing your rookie, which is kind of counterintuitive to Cross's game plan. I'm thinking about dropping it to 2 and putting Nene up to 2. I'm really not 100% sure. I do like Sepia boost, but man, there are times when your hand is like no rookie, 2 EX6s, a Valder Arm, and Sepia boost, and it's like, what do I do with this hand? Nothing, right? And that's a really rough place to be in. And it happened to me enough times for me to notice that it was annoying, right? So let's talk about the final card in the deck. This card is almost as cracked as EX6, perhaps more so. This is 3 copies of the BT19 Meteor Rock Soul. Holy crap, this card. That card wins you games. It pushes damage. And out of security, it's okay. So, main, activate one of the effects below. You may play a cross-heart traded Digimon card with the 4000 DP or less from under your tamers without paying the cost, or by unsuspending one of your Shoutmon EX6 and one of your Shooting Starmon, one of your Digimon may attack a player. So there's a couple. This card is so versatile. It does so much for your deck. It does so much for your plays. So first of all, since EX6 is an alliance swing, he's doing 2 checks. If you use Meteor Rock Soul, he's doing another 2 checks. It's 4 checks. You don't need me to tell you that 4 checks a turn is pretty good. It also lets you do it after your turn has passed. So if you're at 2 memory and they have no security, but you did your EX6 play and you're sitting with the Shoutmon EX6 and a Shooting Starmon suspended on the board, you play Meteor Rock Soul, you unsuspend, you swing game, because it lets you may attack at the end. So that means if you're doing that and you're using Shoutmon EX6 to swing twice, that means you're deleting 2 19Ks. The other application for unsuspending and swinging is the Gallantmon matchup, because Gallantmon's immune to all your effects until the memory passes over. Gallantmon X, right? So you're going to neg 9 on Gallantmon while it's your turn. It's not going to matter until you're going to swing Alliance. You don't really have to worry about them Crimson acing. They probably won't do it because they're not going to see the value in it. So if they're not DP buffed enough, you can just swing over them because you're 19K. But if they are DP buffed, so there's a chance that they're only at 16, right? So you can swing over them that way. And you're 19 exactly. So if they blast, they'll be 19 as well. You'll get your material save 4, which means you can get another EX6 out, and they'll overflow 5. So probably not in their best interest to do so. And if you're just swinging into security, the only thing they're going to be able to pop is your Shooting Starmons, and they're probably not going to think about doing that because they're not going to think about the Meteor Rock Soul play. Because you do need to unsuspend your guys to do it. And so you've swung in already. Their Gallantmon X is chilling, immune to your effects on board. And then you Meteor Rock Soul for 3, pass the memory over, and swing again. Your 19K can probably pop them because they're also negged 9. So Gallantmon can get up in the 20s pretty easily. I've seen one all the way up to like, I don't know, 28. You're popping it. Unless they can get up to like 30. You're in pretty good shape in that regard. So yeah, that's, oh, not done yet. Meteor Rock Soul, it does everything, man. It's also your rush for game. So you have Nene or you have a sepia boost on board, or you just have enough Taiki Kiri Hanenes to gain 3 memory. They have no security left. All you need to do is swing that one more time, and you don't have an EX6, but you have a Shoutmon under one of your tamers and an Omni Shout under one of your tamers. You Meteor Rock Soul for 3, play the Shoutmon, Evo for free, and the Omni Shout. That's a 3-cost play with rush, swing for game. Most of the games I win with this deck is through Meteor Rock Soul. Straight up. It is an incredible card for this deck. And now, sorry, I was a little early on that, but now I'll tell you, that's the deck profile. I had a lot of fun playing again. Shout out to Rogue State Questionable Plays and all the boys that I bodied and had been bodied by. It was a great time, really fun. And yeah, that's Crossheart. That's my feelings on Crossheart. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will catch you guys all on the next one. See you later.